What's happening, friends? Welcome to another live edition of Syracuse Sports. This is Syracuse basketball postgame presented by Krause Health, the official healthcare provider for Syracuse Athletics. Woo! Deep breaths, everybody. A sigh of relief. That breeze you felt was a Syracuse basketball team exhaling after a 4-game gauntlet. That breeze you felt was a Syracuse basketball fan base in collective relief about not only winning a tight game tonight, a 62-60 win over number 13 Tennessee at the JMA Wireless Dome in the ACC-SEC Challenge, but a collective relief of years, frankly, where Syracuse was put in a must-win situation, and make no mistake about it, guys, this was a must-win in many ways, as we're going to go over here on Syracuse basketball postgame for Syracuse. The relief that they could watch their team play, win, grind, be in a game like this, and ultimately come out on top was huge. That collective breeze you felt was the relief of getting a non-conference win, a signature quad one win in their back pocket that takes so much pressure off this team. In the short term, you still have to play as well as can be in ACC play. There's still going to be 7, 8 quad one opportunities. Not that you don't want to win those quad 2 games as well, and you don't want to slip on any banana peels here. This does not put Syracuse into the NCAA tournament, but it gives you the feeling that they can get there. The students rushed the floor. So if you were at the JMA Dome tonight, that breeze you felt was this, the students rushing the court. Which I think people have some mixed feelings about, right? Should you be rushing the court against a number 13 team at the Dome? Or Syracuse, we're better than that. Look, guys, they're college kids. They're going to do college kid things, and they don't know any better because we just went through a stretch where an entire class that went to Syracuse University never saw their team in the NCAA tournament, right? They don't know any better. They did rush the floor after Syracuse beat North Carolina in 2024. That was their last rank win before tonight. But yeah, they just want to hold up their phones and, be on social media and, hey, look at me, I'm on the court, which I believe is going to get a fine from the ACC. I'm not sure how that works, if the ACC can fine a program if it's not a conference game. But there is fines for court storming now, so we'll see if that pans out. So whatever. They're college kids. They want to rush the floor, celebrate, have a good time. As Adrien Autry said after the game, that's college basketball. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not going to be the old man on the porch. Yeah, you kids don't know. Back in my day, we rushed the floor 3 times against Pittsburgh. Just let them feel good. Doesn't it feel good? Don't you feel good tonight? As a Syracuse basketball fan, nobody's handing out any trophies after this one, but man, did they need it. So let's go over this thing. Let's talk about this win. Our Syracuse Sports Insiders had plenty to say during the game. We're going to get some Syracuse Sports Insider reaction coming up, including from the secret voicemail line here. Look, what a game for Syracuse. What a game for some key players. Nate Kingz scores 19 points in the first half, does not score in the second half. And as I talked to Nate after the game, and he said, I'm not trying to be cocky here, but I don't think they really respected me on the scouting report. And Nate Kingz had that left-handed drive throughout the first half. He was unguardable. They wouldn't guard him. He stepped back to the free throw line a couple of times. He stepped back to the three-point line. You want to see that Nate Kingz game. He had his season high, a career high in a Syracuse uniform in the first half, which was huge, right? William Kyle had 6 block shots in this game. And you know what else that breeze was? A collective sigh of relief that you put William Kyle at the free throw line with what was the time on the clock, right? Down the stretch, it was like 12 seconds to go, something like that. The last person you're going to pick to put on the free throw line with the game tied at 60 and you need even a free throw, frankly, is William Kyle III. But he hit 1 of 2. Tennessee gets the ball down the court. And what a battle it was in the middle with Jalen Carey. 22 points. I was looking at his numbers here. 22 points, 9 rebounds. That dude is built like a middle linebacker. Okay. What give me a second here. I think I got it right here in front of me. What are the numbers on Jalen Carey? I mean, he is a tank. He is so tough to guard in the paint. But you know what? William Kyle already has more block shots here on December 2nd than Eddie Lampkin had all of last season in the paint. And he had 6 tonight, stood him up. There was one stretch in this game where JJ went down and dunked. William Kyle had a dunk. Then he goes up on the other side of the court and just one of the great defensive plays you've seen all year. And he did it 6 times tonight. Now, there was an illegal screen on William Kyle with just over a minute to go. Tennessee goes bing, bang, boom. A 60-56 game becomes 60-60 all of a sudden. But at the end, when Jalen goes in the paint, Jalen Carey for Tennessee takes on 3 Syracuse defenders, he can't score, right? Sadiq White gets the rebound. He ends up at the free throw line. He hits 1 of 2. Tennessee had one last desperation heave, and Syracuse wins, right? William Kyle III and Sadiq White are giving Syracuse a presence in the paint without Donnie Freeman, who was out for the 4th straight game. Adrien Autry saying after the game he's not sure when he's going to come back. He knows, like guys, I'm not trying to. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it's basically like we don't have a timeline here day to day. We know it's not a serious season-ending thing. So, frankly, with the schedule you have coming up here, and you can beat a number 13 team in the country and play considerably well in Vegas, considering. I'd throw away the Iowa State game, especially the second half. How Syracuse navigated without their best player. Now you've got a schedule upcoming. Don't force Donnie back out there. You certainly want him back in the flow of things whenever possible. By the way, Bryce Zephyr not available tonight as well. He had a hamstring pull. So you've already had JJ with an injury situation. Donnie Freeman injured again. You got Bryce Zephyr earlier in the season. So you don't want to continue to see the bumps and the bruises this early in the year, though they are kind of inevitable as you go through a 4-month season. But Kyle just brings, and we talked about it before, but to see it in this kind of game, in this situation, in the paint, battling with, like I said, a middle linebacker in Jalen Carey was huge. White got into foul trouble early. And look, I don't want to spend too much time on the officiating in this game, but at one point in the second half, when you look, and Syracuse has been called for 6 fouls, and Tennessee's only been called for 1, there was one on Carey where he elbowed, was it Sadiq White? I can't remember exactly who it was, but an elbow went right through his chest. As blatant an offensive foul as I've ever seen, right in front of the official, doesn't blow the whistle, right? So I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but Kyle hits the free throw. How redeeming does that have to feel? Now, Syracuse shot 59% from the free throw line. That is nothing to celebrate, but Tennessee shot 53%. So you'll take the wins where you can get them in that spot. And look, I've made it this far down the road and haven't mentioned JJ Starling. JJ Starling was a senior leader tonight. JJ Starling, by the way, who guarded Nate Ament, who was one of the best players in college basketball. There was an uptick in NBA scouts tonight who probably booked this trip to come to Syracuse to also see Donnie Freeman, right? But Ament's the guy that they were there to see. And for JJ to take on somebody who's 6'10". Now, Nate had 11 points. Most of that came at the free throw line. He was 2 of 10 from the field, grabbed 6 rebounds. We have fairly, by the way, been critical of JJ's defense at times, but he handled this assignment as well as could be. He didn't necessarily take out Tennessee's best player, but Nate Ament had 114 combined points in Vegas in their 3 games in the Players Era Festival. You'll take that. Carey got his points. He was big in the paint. Points in the paint favored Tennessee ultimately in this game, 40-28. Both teams turned the ball over a bunch. Syracuse had 16 turnovers. Tennessee had 17. Here's the big difference. The commitment to defense that Syracuse had. Not only JJ on Ament, Nate Kingz was terrific defensively in this game tonight. We mentioned William Kyle's 6 blocks, which stands out, but Syracuse got 24 points off those turnovers. Tennessee only got 10 points off of turnovers. And there was a stretch in this game where Syracuse turned the ball over 5-6 times in a row in the second half. They went on a scoring drought. There was one point late in the game when it's getting nitty-gritty time. Hold on to your butts time, right? Samuel Jackson, Jurassic Park, hold on to your butts. Syracuse was 1 of 8 shooting the ball. They went on a 4-minute, 16-second scoring drought, Tennessee. And you're just like, here we go. This is what this team does. They wilt. They have wilted time and again in these big spots, but not tonight not this game. And JJ was a huge reason why. Hit some big shots, made some great defensive plays. The defense he played on him, and he stepped up. And he talked about afterwards, let's play a clip here from JJ, where I asked him what this kind of win can do to help build this team.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows like what we really could be, you know, and the things that we still need to work on. We got to be more consistent, but we are one of those teams that's, you know, considered highly ranked. We just got to believe it and work like it every day. Yeah, I mean, it just shows like what we really could.
There's JJ Starling there. I don't know if you guys could hear that. Pardon if you could not hear that. I don't know if I've got my thing set up here. So pardon if you couldn't hear that. If you guys are watching on the live stream, give me a thumbs up or not if you could hear that clip from JJ. I got to make sure I got this all set up here. It's live. Sometimes, you know, you hit the wrong button, the right button. Things happen, right? So we just want to make sure that clip was working. But look, that is something that can really build this team up, this kind of win. And you want to see not only your senior leader, but a guy like JJ step up, especially with Donnie Freeman out. You had to, look, Syracuse played Kansas, who did not have their best player in Las Vegas, and won. Iowa State did not have their leading scorer and won. You've got to win games like this without your best player. It's going to happen, right? I hear coaches all the time say that magical phrase, right? What's that magical phrase? Next man up. Syracuse has actually two players that kind of have to supplement what Donnie Freeman can do for you as your leading scorer before he went down, right? So for JJ to step up tonight the way that he did, let's just look at JJ's numbers. We're starting to go over it a little bit. He had 12 points. He was 1 of 4 from three-point range. Felt like more. Felt like JJ had a couple threes in this game, but just one, but a big three down the stretch. Grabbed 4 rebounds. He ended up, I think he had 3 steals, if I'm not mistaken. Let me find that stat. Yeah, JJ had 3 steals. Sadiq White had 3 steals. Felt like a lot more from JJ, frankly. Felt like he had 5 or 6 steals in this game, but just had a defensive presence, which has just not always been the case with JJ. But it was absolutely the case tonight. I liked the game that Sadiq played. We mentioned he got into foul trouble early, but only ended up with 3 fouls on the night. He had 10 points in this game. Clutch plays down the stretch. He had the ball in his hands late, essentially winning the game for Syracuse, grabbing a rebound. That's big for a young player like that who's been handed this assignment. He played 26 minutes tonight. He's being given a bigger role on this team with Donnie Freeman out, and it's these kind of games and the gauntlet you just played in Vegas that helps these players grow up a little bit, right? We mentioned Kingz and the huge game that he had. Look, Rick Barnes is a good coach, and he's going to find an issue and solve it in the second half. Tennessee played much more aggressive defense on Nate Kingz in the second half. He did his job, right? The concern I think you got to have, if I'm going to nitpick something here, Nathan George just has not had a good 4-game run here for Syracuse in their 4 biggest games. Now, this is a guy that led the ACC in assists last year. I certainly think this is somebody that's going to come around when it counts in the ACC, right? But you need your point guard to play better than he has played. Clay's made some plays, and he made some plays tonight. Don't get me wrong. He led some fast breaks, but there were times late in the game he's shooting too early, not using the clock properly. There are times when Nate George kind of drives in the paint, and it's like that Michael Scott line. Like sometimes I open my mouth and I don't know what's happening, and I just don't know what the words are going to be next in the sentence. He just kind of drives in the paint sometimes, and he just kind of hopes for the best, right? Nate George tonight had 3 assists. You need more from that, from your point guard, for a guy who averaged about 6 assists per game in ACC play. Only 2 points, 1 of 7 shooting tonight. Just not a great night for your point guard who didn't have a great run in Vegas as well. So you want to see him against St. Joseph's in some of these games coming down the stretch for Syracuse. You want to see him clicking on all cylinders. You need your point guard to really find himself here in the month of December going into ACC play, which starts on New Year's Eve against Clemson, by the way. So, look, this is just a night, and Syracuse doesn't play again until next Thursday, 9 o'clock game, against St. Joseph's. Just enjoy this, man. Just breathe a sigh of relief. They did it. They won a game, and it's huge for their resume. This is a quad 1 win that they had to bank. Now think of the bookends here. You started this 4-game run against Houston, and free throws cost you in that game. You bookend that in a game where William Kyle makes the clutch free throw. Sadiq White made a free throw to, air quotes, ice the game at the end. But for William Kyle to be on that line and make that free throw, you should have heard how still and quiet the Dome was. By the way, shout out to the Dome crowd tonight. I was getting some feedback from our insiders. I don't know what was going on with the ESPN audio mix tonight, but I was getting a lot of texts from the insiders like, why is it so quiet at this game? I'm like, it's not. Like, the crowd was into it. It was a listed crowd of about 19,000. I think butts and seats was a little less than that, but not by much. I think it was probably about 15,000 or so. The students were into it. They were up. They were loud. They were into it. They were ragging on Tennessee, doing what college students do. It was great. It felt like a true blue college basketball environment. Again, in a big game, and it's nice to see from a Syracuse standpoint to win that game, right? North Carolina win a couple of years ago. It was fun. It was nice. It was good to see them rush the floor, get a big ACC. It just didn't mean anything, right? It was late in the year. You knew Syracuse wasn't going to make the tournament that year. It's just, this felt bigger. The pressure valve gets turned off because now you can go down the stretch, and I'm going to pull up the schedule while we're yapping about it here, but you don't play St. Joseph's, by the way. Their next game, next Thursday, was supposed to be a game, remember, in Vegas. They were supposed to play that game in Vegas before they played the 3-game stretch in the Players Era Tournament against Houston, Kansas, and what ended up being Iowa State, right? So you get St. Joseph's next Thursday, 2 games in 3 days. You play Hofstra at the Dome. After that, on Saturday the 13th, Mercyhurst on Wednesday the 17th, Northeastern and Stonehill College. So again, another 2 and 3 game stretch. They go on their holiday break. They come back, ACC play New Year's Eve at the Dome against Clemson. So now you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 6 in a row at home. This one started a stretch of 7 in a row. You got the most important one. Now Nathan George can get back into the flow he needs to. When does Donnie Freeman come back? Don't rush him, but you want him in some kind of flow, if possible, before you go into ACC play. The pressure is up. Because think about this. If they lose this game tonight, we're talking about how Adrien Autry can't win a game like this. We're talking about the pressure of being 0-4 in that 4-game stretch. I tweeted this, or pardon me, I texted this to our Syracuse Sports Insiders earlier today. Like, if Syracuse loses this game, here's where the quad 1 opportunities lie in ACC play. And there's still more to come, don't get me wrong, but this just felt like so much pressure was taken off this team with a lot of basketball to be played here. You just didn't want this cloud hanging over your head for the next 4 or 5 games, because these next 4 or 5 games do not matter on your resume. It's just take care of business. If anything, you have to continue to beat these teams and factor in that margin of victory, right? And just drop the hammer on these teams. St. Joseph's is not going to be easy. St. Joseph's is a quality program. They're going through a coaching change and maybe not the game they thought it was when they initially put it on the schedule, but you've got to take care of business down the stretch. And then you go into ACC play on New Year's Eve. It's going to be here in 29 days, right? Winning this game tonight on national television in the ACC SEC Challenge. Syracuse has played Tennessee a lot in recent years. Finally beats Rick Barnes and company. Rick Barnes really impressed with this win tonight. What a great guy, great coach. Loved listening to him in the post game, and just one of those lifers, man. Rick Barnes has been around forever, and just every time you get the opportunity to hear him talk ball, it's just always a pleasure, right? You know, those guys that have been around the game forever, that are still there, you got to appreciate those guys, because so many of them have retired and walked away from the game in recent years. So it was great to see Rick Barnes. I like Rick Barnes. It was great to see him at the Dome tonight and hear him in post game afterwards. But you got this one, right? No one's handing out a trophy, but the pressure, you turn it off. The valve is off. You get to just, okay, until you get back on the court and start revving up for ACC play. Let me see if I can pull up this Adrien Autry clip here. Here's his opening statement from tonight.
I'd like to thank Cuse Nation, all the fans that was there tonight. They made it the Loud House. They gave us a tremendous effort, and that's the type of support we need and this team needs, and I'm just so proud of what they did. They showed up and they showed out, so I just wanted to congratulate them, right from the beginning. And getting into the game, I just thought of, our guys, everything we talked about, everything we've been working on, as far as the summer coming together and being a one unit and one team, and really fighting. And I thought we did a phenomenal job today of that. I thought the last 2 minutes, man, just everybody just stepped up. Guys made plays, and we won on the defensive end of the floor. And that's what you got to do. If you want to beat teams like the Tennessees of the world. I thought these guys just really showed tremendous heart. Will Kyle steps up and just knocks one free throw. That's all we needed was one, right? Which he stepped up big time. He made blocks. He did everything. I thought Sadiq White. We have been talking about rebounding. He came out and 9 rebounds today. I just thought he was phenomenal. I mean, everybody just stepped on it. And then our senior leader, JJ Starling. He stepped up when we needed him. And then again, I'm just so happy and thrilled for this team and for our fans. They did.
And we're back. Sorry about that. A little technical issue as we were playing the Adrien Autry clip there. But come on back. This is live, folks. Sometimes this stuff happens, right? Come on, baby. Come on back. I'm in this little box over here. Put me back in the big box. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. Am I going to be little Brent in the little box over? Hi, everybody. I'm over here in the little box. I have. Come on. Well, hopefully it'll put me back in there. Here, let me try one thing, guys. I'm going to pop out of the screen and pop back in and see. Okay, that didn't work. So anyway, I guess I'll be little Brent here over in the little box for a little bit here. What in the world is going on? It won't put me back in the big box here. So when you play a video clip, a little technical thing, when you play a video clip, it puts me in this little box, and the video clip goes in the big screen here on YouTube. And I use a service called StreamYard, which does this. And now it's not putting me back in the big box. I'm just little Brent over here in this little box. Come on, you can do it. Put me back. Ah, there we go. There, it took a minute. We're back. We're back, baby. Anyway, see, like I said, sometimes you're live, technical things happen, but you push a bunch of buttons and it'll fix it eventually. Okay, we're back. That's Adrien Autry. I don't know if you guys heard that clip or not. Again, I'm having a little technical issue here. But anyway, as you can imagine, about as happy as you've seen Autry as you can imagine, really complimentary of William Kyle, the defense. He's got this thing that he says a lot. Level 5, the juice that they want to implore out there defensively, really complimentary of Syracuse's defensive effort, really complimentary of JJ Starling. And as you can imagine, William Kyle, I'm going to try one more clip here, see if this works, was pretty happy in the Syracuse locker room that, you know what won this game? Free throws.
It feels great. I mean, it feels great. I don't have any words for it. It feels great. I mean, it feels great. Just really, really happy that we were able to close it out.
Got to feel good for him. A guy that's really struggled at the free throw line. I asked him about his free throw stroke, and he just says he's working with the coaching staff, trying to get it on track as best as he can. Right now, it's an awkward stroke. It's something to watch, right? But you kind of, some people have weird. You ever seen Charles Barkley's golf swing? Some people have just weird golf swings, and they got to settle on it. They're continuing to work with it. People ask me that all the time on the Syracuse Sports Insider text line. Like, do they work on free throws? Do they work with these guys? Of course they do, right? But that's the stroke that's he's comfortable with right now. That's something you don't change in a day, by the way. I'll use the golf swing comparison. You ever try to change your golf swing? It doesn't happen in a day, right? So he made the one that mattered tonight, right? We'll see. getting Kyle the ball, it's a tricky thing because you want him involved late in the game. He plays so well defensively. You want him in the paint attacking the rim from a certain standpoint. You just don't want that whistle to blow because at best you're going to get one of two from Kyle at the free throw line. If Kyle makes both free throws, like hallelujah, right? So that's a tricky proposition. You want him on the court for a number of reasons, but you don't want him at the free throw line. Tonight it paid off, but percentage-wise, big picture, how often is that going to be the case? And like we said, the illegal screen, like he played with fire a little bit in a close game. But tonight, Syracuse got the win. Tonight, Syracuse has a quad one win in their back pocket. And tonight, this is the type of thing. There are signature moments throughout a season, and you look back and you say, where are the moments where you kind of planted your flag? What are the postcard moments of a season that define the direction that it went? This was one of those moments. Now we'll see how things continue to progress when they get Donnie back, what they do in ACC play. We'll see how the ACC pans out here. When the net rankings came out earlier this week, there's about, I sent this to our insiders earlier today. So let's kind of look at what your quad one opportunities are. Now, you're not going to have any in your upcoming schedule, which is why it was so important for Syracuse to grab this non-conference win tonight, get the quad one win in their back pocket, because there's just not a lot coming until obviously ACC play starts. So from here, by the way, Adrien Autry is now 3-19 against quad one wins. Not great, right? But all that matters is the quad one wins you get this year to build your NCAA tournament resume up. Let's see. Duke is on the road. Louisville on the road. You get North Carolina both home and away. As it stands right now, those would both be quad one wins. Virginia's on the road. Clemson right now barely qualifies as a quad one game. We'll see where it stands when Clemson comes to the Dome later this month. It's right on the line right now because remember, the way quad one wins in the quad system works, if a team is ranked between 1 and 30 in the net ranking and you play them at home, you get that win. You get a quad one win on the road if they're in the net ranking between 1 and 75. Narrows the gap there. NC State right now on the road, Wake Forest on the road. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8. You got about 9 quad one opportunities right now as it stands. We'll see how the season progresses and how that goes. But enough of me. Let's hear from you guys. Our Syracuse Sports Insiders, as you can imagine, pretty fired up for this one. Start with Rich R., who says, Brent, that is a football comment. That is not a basketball comment. I got to find the basketball comments from our Syracuse Sports Insiders, as Brent continues to have some technical issues on the show tonight. I can do this, guys. I can do this. Bear with me here. Just got to load in some of these great comments from our Syracuse Sports Insiders, which I did earlier. Now I have to do again for some reason, but that's okay. Billy H. says, after a horrendous football season, it's finally good to be excited about Syracuse basketball again. Let's hear from my main man, Vern, who says this. Man, it feels nice to win again. It's got to feel nice to win like that and to win again, right? And to get a quad one win like this in your back pocket. From Seth B., so we add this in here, who says this. This is how Syracuse will win games this year. Stifling defense and hitting 2-point shots. Our 3-point shooting and foul shooting are still definitely not there. That's exactly right. Look, here's the thing, as I load in a few more great comments from our Syracuse Sports Insiders. This is a team that's committed to defense. This is a team that has a mentality to play defense, and that is half the battle. You have to want to play defense and play it hard and play it for 40 minutes and do press and to dig down deep. And look, second half of the Iowa State game, they couldn't do it. They hit the wall. You hope that's kind of a one-off. It's a unique situation with the gauntlet they played in 3 games in 3 days in Vegas. You don't want to see that more often than not, right? But this team won this game. I mentioned the points off turnovers, which was huge because Tennessee was better in the paint. Neither team really shot well from 3-point range, which was good. Tennessee was bad from the free throw line. From 3-point range, Tennessee 4 of 13, Syracuse 5 of 19. That's still a concern. This is still not a great 3-point shooting team, and they have better 3-point shooters. So you want to see that percentage tighten up a little bit. Maybe Syracuse has taken 5, 6, 7 too many threes per game. You want to see them take quality shots from 3-point range. 5 of 19, not great, but in a game like this, you find another way. And they did it. As Jack W. says, free throws matter. We outshot them 59 to 53%. Now, there was a couple of you not happy about the court storming, including Sean B., who says, absolutely embarrassing court storming after this. We are Syracuse. We're a far more prestigious program than Tennessee will ever be. Connor B. says, not a big fan of rushing the court after beating the 13th ranked team in the country. That's something Hofstra would do if they beat Tennessee. Hofstra coming to the Dome pretty soon, ladies and gentlemen. And I think we got one more on that from my guy, Steven C. Let's pop that in there so you guys can see it, who says, big win, but rushing the floor, come on. Defense played well tonight. We had a chance to bury them, but our offense went stagnant at the 10-minute mark. I don't mind the court storming. I really don't. I get what you're saying. I'm with you in a way, guys, but this group of students, they have not experienced what you have experienced. They don't remember and have not personally experienced some of those big wins that did merit rushing the court over the years, right? You don't want to see it every time you win a game like this because this is still a program that should be winning games like this. I get, to borrow a phrase, the orange standard there that some people would cite. So you don't want to be rushing the floor after every ranked win. But like I said, think of the kind of the backlog of frustration that you're kind of letting off some steam in a game like this. So we'll let you guys do it this time. Just don't rush the floor after every ranked win. That'd be a little much, right? Michael S. says lots of contributions, but Kyle was the player of this game. His defensive presence altered Tennessee's game plan. The thing is, too, and Rick Barnes even referenced this, guys, when you watch film and you're scouting Syracuse, William Kyle now pops. William Kyle pops. And what Rick Barnes said is, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was basically like he's not a hidden gem anymore, right? People are going to see William Kyle. They'll have to game plan for William Kyle, which actually partially left Nate Kingz open. I think because Tennessee in that matchup in the paint between Jalen Carter and William Kyle left Kingz open to have the big game that he had, particularly in the first half of this game, right? So teams know about William Kyle, and they know they can put him at the free throw line. Paid off tonight. Most times it's not going to, right? And that goes into the strategy. So how does Syracuse make up for that? But when you've got Kyle playing the way he is in the paint, Kingz could take advantage of that. Sadiq White only getting better game by game, held his own out there tonight. When Donnie Freeman comes back, now all of a sudden, you've got some choices to make defending Syracuse. If Nate George gets back on track at the point guard position, when JJ's on, there are just more options on this team. You can go to the bench and bring a Tyler Betsy in to hit threes. You can go to the bench and bring in a Kyan Anthony, who, we haven't even mentioned. Kyan, mostly a quiet night, had a big three in this game. He had 7 points. He played 17 minutes. Not a huge night for Kyan, but he had a couple of very confident shots, including that corner three that he got. It felt like everybody kind of put a brick in the wall tonight, and that was his big contribution in this game. But this team's just got more talent, and it showed tonight. The kind of the collective way they had to get over the hump in a game like this. There's still pressure on this team, don't get me wrong, as we continue to go through some of these insider comments here. There's still pressure on this team. And Spencer's comment kind of addresses it here. So let's go to Spencer's comment here. It says this: huge win. They needed this win desperately. It keeps their tournament hopes alive. If they keep playing like that, I can see them being one of the better ACC teams, especially if it's a weaker conference. In a way, you want the conference to be better, so there's more quad one opportunities, but in another way, you want to be in that group of Syracuse. When the net rankings came out earlier this week, guys, just to show you the work that still has to be done, they were the 14th ranked ACC team in the net rankings. Still got to climb up the ladder here a lot. So you want the conference to be better, that there's 8-9 conference-worthy teams, and Syracuse gets on that list. You still have to win up. You still have to get these quad one wins, as I went over a minute ago, a lot of them on the road, right? So as good as this feels, it's the first step. You had to show you can win a big game like this. That's where the good feelings and the relief comes from. Okay, they can do this. Despite the flaws that they have that have to get better, three-point shooting, free throw shooting, frankly, some coaching situations that still have to get better. I think tonight is a lot more player mistakes than coaching mistakes when they were in the drought and turning the ball over, and that's not Adrien Autry out there doing that, right? So he kind of gets a pass in this one in this case, but still some of the ISO ball things and some of the things that we've noted in other games and other losses can't continue to show up. They obviously have to improve going forward, but just to know you got it in your back pocket, you got it in your head, hey, we can win a game like this. That's not only the resume builder you get, the confidence this team gets. Like, they had to prove to themselves that they could win a game like this in this stretch of the schedule. If you got 0-4 hanging over, 1-3 is not great, but if you got 0-4 hanging over your head, that is just a dark cloud that would be very hard to swipe away. From Rich, who says Nate Kingz will get accolades for this first half, but he also held Gillespie in check, and Kyle's a monster in the middle. Gillespie got to, what did he end up with tonight? Let me see. Gillespie for Tennessee. Man, it felt like he had a lot more than 10 points. Jacoby Gillespie. 10 points, 7 assists on the night, but that guy can glide to the rim. There were times he just went whoo, like a hot knife through butter right through the Syracuse defense. But Kingz, for the most part, did play great defense in him. He got away from him a couple of times. He did get into a little bit. There was a situation where he picked up his second foul, went on the bench for a little bit. He did play 32 minutes tonight, but Kingz did a great job on him for the most part. Nice play. Look, Tennessee, here's the good thing about this too. Tennessee, they're a quad one team now. They're a quad one team in March. This team's going nowhere. Tennessee's good. Tennessee, they will be ranked all year. They're going to be where Rick Barnes' Tennessee teams are, with the opportunity to make a deep run in the tournament. That is a good team. This is not going to be a fluke quad one win. You're not going to look down the road and be like, oh, yeah, you beat Tennessee in December, but look at them now. That team, they will be there at the end of the road, right? And you had 4 games like that. Houston, Kansas, what turned out to be Iowa State, Tennessee, you got that one. And hey, you got, look, Syracuse football started the season off with a loss against Tennessee, and we knew the basketball game was coming, so at least you split that, right? Got one back on Tennessee. I think I've got, let me see here. No, I think that's it from our insiders. And we did have a couple from the secret voicemail line, but I don't think my audio is playing correctly here tonight, so I'm going to have to look into that here. As we had a couple technical issues that we were swimming through there. But appreciate those of you on our Syracuse Sports Insider text line that have the secret voicemail that called in tonight. We'll have to get to those another time, guys. So thanks for that. Thanks for all your great texts, because being a Syracuse Sports Insider means you have direct text message access to me anytime. Your questions, your comments, your thoughts, your opinions, certainly during games. You guys are active on the text line. Love reading your text, how you're feeling, what you're seeing during the game. I believe, I'm not 100% on this. I will inform our texters of this. So we're talking Tuesday night after Syracuse basketball. Wednesday, December 3rd is Syracuse football signing day. They're going to sign, we think, everything's got to get over the finish line, but this is going to rank as one of the better Syracuse football recruiting classes they've had, frankly, ever since they started really digging in on recruiting rankings about 25 years ago, right? How about the story earlier this week that Syracuse football added a 25-year-old freshman to the roster who happens to be a famous rapper. He's got 3.6 million followers on Spotify. that's a very interesting story, to say the least. Coaching changes made on the football side of things this week. 4 coaches fired. Elijah Robinson demoted from defensive coordinator, now defensive line. Technically, he's going to be the co-defensive coordinator. Syracuse is now on the hunt for a new defensive coordinator. Plenty of football stuff to talk about. So I think that Javon Edmonds and I are going to hop on and do a little football live pod on Wednesday, wrapping up signing day and just kind of all the stuff that's happening with the coaching changes. As of now, we haven't really seen a lot of guys go into the portal, but that's going to change coming up here shortly. So there's still some football stuff to get into, even though we're heavy into the rhythm of basketball. So that means being a Syracuse Sports Insider keeps you tapped in with everything happening here on the podcast, but we also would like to remind you, please subscribe. Spotify, Apple, YouTube, wherever you get your pods, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button so you can listen and watch on demand when you want. We love it when you're here live on the live post-game shows. I know you can't always be here live, though, so you guys watch and listen on demand. And subscribing and following ensures that you can do that when you want. That's going to do it for this edition of Syracuse Sports. Thanks for bearing with me through some of those technical issues we were trying to fish through there, but no technical issues for Syracuse. They win. It's a big win. It's a big win. 62-60 over Tennessee. Quad 1 win in their back pocket. Confidence that they can win big games like this. The students rush the floor. Syracuse will take a little break. They will not be back on the court until next Thursday against St. Joe's. That's at the Dome. They will be at the Dome the rest of the year, and they started off that stretch tonight with a big win over Tennessee. Thanks for hanging here tonight on Syracuse Sports Live, our Syracuse basketball postgame presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics. My name is Brent Axe. We'll be back soon, guys. Maybe with a football pod this week. Stay tuned. Our insiders will get all the information on that. Have a great rest of your night. We'll talk to you again soon.